All right, streaming.
How many losers watching?
I just started. Let's see. Start. Making sure everything looks good here. Stop streaming. Start streaming. Dashboard thinks we're live. No one's watching yet. Bam. Got my news. My thing of the day. Boop, boop. .504 error. Oh, that's done. Okay, whatever. Desks. All right. It's Thursday, September 28th, 2017. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geek Nights. Tonight, we're talking about desks.
You got some video playing there.
Yeah.
Why you got Death of Supergirl there?
That's just in my Twitter.
Okay.
Oh, look, there's people. Oh, there's Scott here. Only Scott. Oh, no, there's other people. All right, let's go. You said you have an opening bit. So.
Oh, I got tons of opening bit.
All right. Woo! I got minor opening bits, but I'll let you start with yours.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go for it.
So on Saturday, I was biking around looking for sports to photograph, whatever.
Yeah.
And
What was I doing on Saturday? I went biking I went for a run on Saturday.
I came across some roller hockey, and the thing is, I started taking photos of the roller hockey, but then it ended. It was the third period of the last game.
Ah.
So I got like maybe not even any photos, but that roller hockey was way like serious, competitive, intense. Like they didn't have a name for the league, but like it was super organized, and like this one guy running it was the most New York guy I ever seen. So I said, when should I come back? He says they play Saturday morning and Wednesday night. So I'm like, oh, I got nothing else to do Wednesday night. That sounds more productive than sitting on my ass at home. So I went over there, and basically they play short games. Like it's still 3 periods, but they're short, maybe 5-10 minute periods.
That
right?
makes sense.
And there's no stopping for commercials. It doesn't look like there's any hitting. Anytime I saw anyone hit anyone, there was a penalty. Right.
So the reason that makes sense is when I played roller hockey as a kid, the one thing that was very apparent is that you never had enough kids for line, so you were basically on the...
One team had no subs, but they, like, kicked ass. One team had, like, 2 subs. Right? They were, like, borrowing... They had goalies that were, like, hey, does anyone want to stick around? We need a goalie.
So I'm curious, because I've seen 2 styles of roller hockey, roller hockey.
It's roller hockey.
Were the goalies also wearing rollerblades, or did they just have shoes on?
The goalies are wearing rollerblades,
all right, good.
They also had full goalie equipment.
Well, yeah, you gotta. Were they playing with a plastic puck or the ball?
It was a plastic puck and the surface at this rink is some kind of plastic surface, but they were.
Okay, I know what kind of.
It was like these plastic tiles, but man, they were flying. Like whoa! It was like you didn't even realize it wasn't ice hockey. You know, obviously not NHL speed, but like, damn.
So modern
it was for
rollerblades.
serious. They were even keeping track of like who got the assists and stuff.
Modern
they had refs,
rollerblades are way dangerous.
Linesmen, refs, the whole deal. But they were just like the teams were like so shoddy. Like 6 dudes roll up, right? And they're putting their clothes on right next to as the other team's finishing up.
Scott, let's form a team and join the league.
We would die. Also, I can't skate of any kind.
I can teach you. That's not that hard.
I cannot skate. Anyway. So that was kind of awesome. If anyone wants to do roller hockey, I suggest going to Brooklyn Bridge Park Wednesday night or Saturday morning, and you can definitely play some. But it was serious and competitive. Like they were keeping score on paper. They said they play the whole year, no matter what the temperature is, no matter what.
All right.
Right? As long as it's not raining, because apparently the roof there is kind of leaky. But it was lit up at night, and also the random fireworks.
Were they checking or no checking?
No, no one is hitting anyone.
Okay.
I said that already, but
when you said, I assumed that was like they're not fighting and
there was no fighting either. But there was a great deal of verbal assaults.
No, that's expected.
Anyway, Also, just a tiny news, right? At the office today, they gave out free flu shots to everybody who wanted one.
Oh,
And
my old company, 2 companies ago, used to do that, and 3 companies ago was the hospital, so they of course also did that.
But anyway, we had to wait in line. Like everyone was waiting in line for because of one person giving out shots. Everyone's waiting in line. But I just want to say, anyone out there,
Get your flu shot.
First of all, we all know the way the flu shot works is that the smart doctors, I assume CDC doctors or someone else, figures out, these strains of flu are probably going to be making the most evil this year. Let's get dead ones of those and put them in this here vaccine and test it, and that's the flu shot for this year, and that's how it works, right? And every year it's different. Which means if they're wrong, yeah, you might still get the flu. It's possible, right? But it doesn't matter, right? You want to go back to the day when, like, the flu killed millions of people? No. No, you don't. And that's why you should go get jabbed. It's like, oh, no, you got jabbed. Yeah, well, even if it hurts and even if it sucks and even if you're a big baby or you pass out, would you rather have millions of people die from the horrible flu? No.
Well, it's even more important than that. Even if you're just selfish, you don't care about other people, getting the flu shot reduces your chance of getting the flu and has almost no consequences for you, and likely no consequences other than possibly avoiding the flu.
Yep.
If you haven't had a legit flu in a while, like if you've had colds...
I haven't had one in, like, so long.
And you forget...
I haven't even been sick in so long.
If you have an actual influenza, it is way worse than you probably remember it being if you haven't had it in a while.
Well, also is that when you're an adult, right? Getting sick is way worse than getting... Like, when I got sick as a kid, like, I felt bad, but, like, I was kind of happy.
Because I didn't have to go to school.
Well, happy not to go to school, but also it didn't feel so bad that, like, I minded too much.
Well, I
could still, like, watch Price is Right and play Nintendo.
Like,
but
5 years ago,
if I get sick now with the same sickness, I'm like, it's the same thing with falling. Like, if I fall, like when I was a kid, I fell down the stairs. As my memory tells me, I fell down the stairs on numerous occasions.
Yeah.
And jumped off of, like, porches that were, a story above the ground with no problem whatsoever. And I think about doing that now, and it's like, I would just die.
Yeah, I remember one time as a kid, I was just in my bedroom.
If I fell down a stair, like a few stairs right now, I'd probably break a bone.
I was in my bedroom, and I just was, like, looking out the window. And then my kid brain was just like, you could totally make it. And I just fucking jumped out of the second story, landed down in, like, the garden. And then I knocked on the front door, and my parents were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so getting sick is the same thing. It's way worse when you're an adult, so get it.
Yep.
Because kids with shitty immune systems, they can't be getting no flu shot. That'll give them flu for sure.
But the main difference between the, just being sick and having the flu is when you're just sick and you stay home from work, you'll just sit there and play video games and feel shitty. Mm-hmm. Well, the last time I had a legit flu, it would hurt too much to play a video game.
You can't go take photos of roller hockey if you're sick.
No, you're going to sit. Well, so Emily came home while I had that flu. Like, I didn't go to work, and she went to work, and she comes home. And I was, apparently, I don't even remember this that well. I was sitting in the living room, and all the lights were off. The TV wasn't on. It was just silent. And I was hunched over, sitting upright, with a blanket covering me like a shroud, not moving. And I didn't react when she came home.
Yeah.
And she was like, are you okay? And I was like,
no.
Obviously
not.
Do you want to go to bed? And I was like, it hurts too much.
Go to the hospital. That's where you want to go.
Thing is, I had a flu, and I'm an adult, and I'm healthy. The hospital wasn't going to do anything.
I don't know. Depends.
Maybe if it was just a flu,
they might have been able to tell you, like, maybe you're dehydrated and didn't realize it.
No, I'm pretty on top of that.
They could IV you.
Oh, yeah. I've gotten the IV.
Morphine, that'll make you feel better. Get sleep right away.
Yeah, they ain't giving me the morphine for that.
They might.
Nah, probably not. I feel like.
Tell them how it hurts. It hurts. Oh, I got to 10. Oh, it hurts. Oh, it hurts so bad.
Man, when I got the food poisoning that one time in New York, that was an 8. That was the number I told them on that scale. I think that was the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in some news, you probably noticed that some people are tweeting entire essays now.
This is my news. You stole it.
Okay, I introduced it. It's now Scott's news.
Yeah, so Twitter, which can't do anything right ever, except, I guess, do the bare minimum to keep itself from dying completely. And have enough momentum that people can't abandon it even though there's better things out there, has decided that some people are going to be able to tweet 280 instead of 140 characters.
Eventually everyone will, I guess.
I can't, but whatever.
Well, you can. There is a way for anyone.
So on the one hand, this is annoying because I feel like people are going to be... I'm already pissed off when people tweet a thread. If you want to tweet a thread, what you should be doing is writing a blog post and tweeting a link to the blog post. That's what you should be fucking doing. Don't give me this thread bullshit, right? The whole point of Twitter is that you can say everything you need to say in less. But there have been many occasions where I myself am making a tweet and there is literally no way to include everything I want to include. And I take out all the cruft and I can't get it in 140 because I'm including like a link and an image and 3 hashtags plus a description of what it is, right? And that just doesn't fit. So it's nice to get the 280 for those rare cases, but letting everyone 280 all the freaking time is like, oh, people are just gonna write a bunch of useless crap, and that now they have the space, they're gonna fill it in. That's what people do.
Yep.
If you give them an inch, they're gonna take a mile, right? So,
because at least in English, 140 felt like was a pretty good number
this
in terms of...
This is not something that will improve Twitter, and it's very disparaging because at the same time, or discouraging.
Yeah.
Not disparaging.
I'm going to disparage it.
Yes, it's
because I am discouraged by it.
It's discouraging because there are things Twitter should be doing that they could do that I guess would be more work than doing this. To do this, all they got to do is change like one number in the code and press enter, right? But the things you want them to do, they do.
What do I want to do? I want
get rid of Nazis.
Get rid of Nazis. That's pretty much number one.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Get rid of threads. Make people tweet a link to a blog post. If someone wants to write something long...
Because the threads don't get in my way because usually
But the thing is, people are writing the thing is, the content in most threads
I see your angle.
Is high quality content that I do want to read. It just really sucks to read that content when in Twitter thread form, right? Regardless of which Twitter reader you use.
Especially when they mess it up and like their thread turns into 2 threads.
Right. It's like... give people something where if they go over the 140, what it should do is it should turn their tweet into like a link with a short description that's under 140, and then that link take you to a page that has the whole fucking essay written out somewhere like a blog post.
I feel like normal people just don't write blogs anymore. They just update.
Well, I mean, yeah, people aren't going to start a WordPress just so they can do this, right? What you have to do is you have to...
should.
Yeah, that's what you should do. But Twitter should provide the long blog, because Twitter was originally called microblogging. No one calls it that anymore. You need to provide the macro blog to go with the microblog, right? And not everyone has a Tumblr, WordPress, or Medium, or whatever it is set up to do this.
Well, I mean, it's kind of
you
like...
need to provide something for the people who are only tweeting so that they can tweet a long essay without making more than one tweet.
Posting content on the internet has had this dichotomy that's only increased over time, where there's 2 completely separate classes of people. There's people like us who have platforms that we invest in or build or run, and audiences and all these things. So like I have a lot of ways to take things I want to say and put them on the internet, and I don't think about it. There's no friction in that process. But most people don't use really any services at all and create very little content. So when they want to create some content, they don't have any like pipeline or process to distribute that. So the only avenue they have is the like Facebook and Twitter updates that they can post.
There is so much content on the internet that is in a place it does not belong because the person who was posting that content has such a limited, view of the internet. Their scope is so small. I saw a post on the board game Reddit the other day that was like, there is this skeezy dude in our board game group who's like, sexually harassing me and grabbing me, and the other people won't kick him out, right? And it's like,
well,
yes.
One, everyone in that group is bad except you.
That's true. We're not going to... We already... Everything we have to say about that issue has already been said.
It's a panel that we did at PAX.
Yes. The point is board game Reddit the right place for that? No, it's not. Not at all.
Well,
right?
for that, the right place for it is a police report.
That's exactly right. But I've seen people write like essays as like a Reddit post in a subreddit. It's like, don't you have a blog for that? It's like no one has a, it's the only place that person can think of to post that content.
On one hand, there was a time when I would do that kind of thing too, but that time was the 90s, and the reason was back then I was young and the internet was a very different place, and I carefully cultivated different personas in different parts of the internet and did not link them.
How many people like make a video and put it as a tweet when they should be making a YouTube video and then linking to it with a tweet, right?
Yep.
It's like you got to post your content in the right place.
All I'm going to say is the way
In
I'm
the
going to
right
handle this
form.
is, one, on my phone now, I'm using a Twitter client that just doesn't show me the other people's likes.
Yeah, I never understood why people complain about this so much, because you should not be using the default Twitter client ever. Not on the web, not on your phone, not on your tablet, not on your nothing.
I like
the
going to Twitter.com because it's the easiest. Just here we go. It's just there.
TweetDeck is free. It has no ads and also has no bullshit. And is also officially made by Twitter because they bought it.
Yeah.
It's been around for years. I've never used the official Twitter website ever, except to like change my Twitter password or something. There's no reason to ever use official Twitter app or official Twitter website. They have ads, and they're way worse than everything else. And the other things are free. And in fact, if you pay for some of the ones that aren't free, it's like you're using Twitter. First of all, it's like I think Tweetbot is what, like $10 or something, an iPhone.
Just pay the $10. How often do you read
You're
Twitter?
using Twitter constantly all day, and that's like 3 bagels. But I mean, come on, you're doing this way more than 3 breakfast sandwiches, right? To get rid of all ads and to have no complaints.
Well, though, so here's an interesting problem that occurs. It's the same thing with ads in the 90s. In the 90s, I would say the same thing. Whenever anyone saw an ad, I'd be like, how? Why would you ever see an ad on the internet? Do you want my host's file? But as a result, people who were smart enough to recognize that ads were toxic just blocked them. So there was very little UX pressure to deal with ads getting more and more toxic, because the people who saw them were the kinds of people who wouldn't complain or would just suck it up. And I feel like Twitter is in a similar boat, where all the people who know better have ways to avoid the worst UX decisions that Twitter's making, and regular people get fucked by them, and at the same time don't have enough they'll get mad at Twitter, but they don't understand what changed that made them madder at Twitter, so they can't effectively complain about it. And Twitter seems to do literally the worst job on earth on actually finding out what people want to use their platform for. Or they do know, this is what I actually suspect, Twitter knows exactly what people want to use their platform for, and they don't want you to use it that way because they can't make as much money. They want it to be a platform.
How are they even making money to begin with?
They're not.
Yeah, I don't understand.
Now, I'm confident I could personally make Twitter, like just this service, something that made more money than it costs without ruining it. However,
I think that Twitter, you might think Twitter's so big it can't be replaced or whatever, but look, MySpace got killed by Facebook, and Facebook also will die at some point.
So there is stuff's
also
weirdly different though nowadays. Like that was still kind of an early pioneering era of the internet.
Things will die. It can't last forever. And also,
nothing even close to credible has appeared for Twitter though.
You just need to get some people on there.
Yeah, who remember LO? That lasted a minute.
It can happen.
I'm pretty dubious of that.
I'll make one then.
The only way it would happen is if someone set it up to basically ride on Twitter's coattails.
No, I think you can do it.
I don't know. I don't think so.
I could be done.
People settle and then they're done. We'll see. But I feel like the real problem here is that Twitter as a company, or at least the people who want to make money off of Twitter, what they actually want is a platform where people are creating content just to get other people to read it, but the real product is that most people are only following celebrities who tweet sponsored things at them. They don't actually want like you and me just to add each other because they don't make money off of that.
Well.
So anyway, in some other news, another one of those somebody gets dragged off of a flight situations happened, which happens
Those
often
seem
enough.
to be a lot of those happening lately, or maybe they were always happening, but people didn't record the video of them with their phones and then put it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which is now what's happening, so now we're learning about them more often.
But this one's a little bit interesting because I'm pretty much 100% on the side of the airline.
In this case, yeah.
In terms of dragging this woman off the plane. So the deal is, you fly on an airline and they give you peanuts sometimes, and sometimes they don't give you peanuts. And usually when they don't give you peanuts, either they're one of those weird no peanut airlines, or somebody who's going to be on the flight registered in advance and said, I got a dangerous peanut allergy. Don't let any peanuts be on my flight, and they'll take care of that for you. Now, there's the whole aside about how a good percentage of the people who claim to have peanut allergies probably don't, but that's a whole separate discussion.
Yeah.
But that's fine. That's the thing. This woman got
There
on.
are people who do have deadly peanut allergies.
Yeah, it's
though.
not like that is a thing that does not exist, but it is a thing that is overreported.
Obviously, many things are overreported.
So this person got on a plane, and someone else had a dog with them on the flight, which happens. That's totally fine.
There were dogs on my last flight.
Yeah. In fact, I love it when there's a dog on my flight.
Everyone was petting them in the gate while waiting to get on board.
It's good stuff, little dog. Now, I believe this dog was actually a service dog, too, which made it even more interesting. Because this person claimed once they saw, they already got on the plane and they were settled, and once they saw that there was a dog on the plane, they flipped out and demanded that the dog be removed from the plane because they claimed to have a deadly dog allergy.
Okay, so how come you're not already dead?
I literally believe that is a lie. I don't think that deadly dog allergy is...
Dog allergy is the thing, but I've never heard of deadly dog allergy. It could exist.
Yep.
I could be wrong. But even so, how come you're not dead? Didn't you see the dog in the gate area? Like, the whole thing doesn't make a lot of sense.
But even more important, the person who's on the plane, the dog is also on the plane. The person is not dead. The person demands that the dog be removed.
The air on the plane is very not circulated well.
Yep.
You'd be already in bad shape.
The airline is like, do you have a doctor's note or anything? And of course, this person does not, because they're clearly making it up. And the airline's like, well, in the interest of your safety, we'll remove you from the plane and put you on another flight that doesn't have dogs on it. And that's when this person super freaks out and ends up getting arrested because they wouldn't get off the plane. And that's the funny part. This person refused to get off the plane that had a dog on it that, if they weren't lying, would kill them. They refused to get off when given the chance to remove themselves from the deadly thing that will kill them.
Right. If someone has a legit peanut allergy and I pull out a peanut jar of Skippy and start unscrewing it, they run. That's how it works.
Yeah.
If they weren't running, they must be lying. Or they cray.
Yep.
They got a death wish. I don't know. Right? But if I'm allergic to... If you come up with some poison ivy and you're like, hey, Scott, I'm going to run the fuck away. Right? I mean, I might go to the airline gate and be like, yo, someone on the plane got poison ivy, try to rub it on everyone, and then they'll arrest you, poison ivy man.
Sir, do you have proof?
I'm not hanging around to risk you rubbing me.
Sir, do you have a doctor's note saying that poison ivy is dangerous to you?
Yes, I do. Let me show you my leg where the rash is currently growing. I'm a cat.
But I will say that I have encountered a very similar situation at multiple points in my life, and it always boils down the same way, and that's kind of why I was interested in this story, is because, and I've seen this happen a lot at restaurants, especially in states that allow animals in restaurants. Like, there's no states that say, oh, you have to let animals that are not service animals in your restaurant.
In fact, there's a lot of rules saying even if you want to let animals in your restaurant, you can't because hair gets in the food and that's not sanitary.
And that was actually, even though arguably the restaurant owner should be, as long as they make it clear, should be able to make that choice. New York, I think, recently passed a law saying that
you might get a B instead of an A.
Outdoor restaurants can, if they wish to, allow patrons to have dogs with them.
Oh yeah, no,
they don't have to.
Really? I thought outdoor was totally okay. It was indoors was the problem because that's where the food's being prepared.
Nope. So no, because the food preparation area is separated from the dining area.
If you're eating outside, right? It's like dog
in
hair.
New York, the amount of fecal coliform settling onto your food.
Dog hair is the least of your worries getting on the food if you're eating outside. They're just cars blasting exhaust particles onto your food if you're eating outside.
Ever been
outside?
So
who cares about some dog hairs?
Ever been outside and smell some poop in the distance?
Homeless man walks past your restaurant while you're eating there and gets who knows what particles, right?
Well, the poop particles. It's poop particles. It's always poop particles.
But it's like if you're eating inside, then your food could be relatively safe from
But yeah, so the law that changed was that if a restaurant wants to allow it, they are allowed to allow it. And if you don't like it, eat somewhere else. That's their call.
And there's still dog and cat cafes and stuff. They just have to keep the animal area separate from the eating area.
Yep. I really, occasionally I've worked at places where people just brought their dogs to work every day, and I miss that. That was good times.
That's totally cool in an office.
Yeah.
It's not a food preparation office or a kitchen.
But I've run into situations.
A science lab. It's just the office with desks and chairs. You can totally bring a dog in
I've run into many situations in my life, mostly when I was younger, living with my family and having dogs, where there are places where it is okay for pets to be, but there are people who just don't like animals and try to complain to get said animals removed from the area, not because they're causing a problem, because they don't like pets and they don't like people who have pets.
There's people who, there's a NIMBY attitude. I
Yep.
don't like that thing that someone else is doing, so I want to impose my will on them with my HOA or my whatever. And that's basically just the worst person there is.
And
That's
I'm
how you
pretty
can tell
much-
if someone's a bad person.
I am like 99% confident that that is the situation here, that
Yeah.
this person just doesn't like dogs.
Whenever I see anyone trying to impose their will on someone else just because that person's doing something they don't like, turn off that loud music that's not actually keeping you awake. You just don't like my music.
Stop killing all those people, Scott.
Well, okay, but I mean, that's actually hurting other people.
It's not hurting you, though, so what right do you have to complain?
The loud music, my party music isn't hurting anybody. My dog isn't hurting anyone yet. It might hurt you, though. Bite rim, dog.
There is a threshold above which party music can hurt you.
Sure, but if I'm under the threshold and you just, you didn't care when that neighbor was having the disco party, but suddenly I'm having a hip-hop party and you're mad?
Nah.
Yeah.
What I do think, though, so here's this aside. One thing we definitely need to ban is loud vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
There is no place for that in the modern
Technically,
world.
they are. There's ordinances pretty much everywhere about how loud your vehicle can be, just they don't enforce it too much.
Yep. Because the other day we were down in Brooklyn and there was a lot of motorcycles farting around super loud.
Yep.
And then I finally figured out because I biked home.
A lot of motorcycles are just illegal in New York, period. New York City.
Yep.
Dirt bikes, at least.
Oh my God, the dirt bike thing. That's like such a New York specific problem.
Yeah, I mean, because dirt bikes are legal in most places, just not New York City. And the cops love to basically confiscate dirt bikes. And
But there's part
and then make videos demolishing them all.
but part of the reason for that, because
It's just a waste of resources. Really, they should auction those off upstate.
So I've encountered the dirt bike menace before. Basically, what happens in New York, kind of regularly, is a whole bunch of teenagers and young adults who have these illegal dirt bikes will sort of have a flash mob somewhere, and then there'll be hundreds of them just without license plates, screaming around on streets, going the wrong way on roads and on sidewalks and blocking traffic and hurting people and causing trouble.
Yep, that happens.
Like that flash mob of dirt bikes, I've seen it twice.
I've seen
in
it
my
way
time
more. I've
living
seen it
here.
way more than twice.
I've seen it twice in like giant mob that I called 911 about.
And I've never called 911 on them, but I go.
They were going in. You know how the Pulaski has the one way and then the other way and then the bike way? They were riding in one direction on all three of those. They were going against traffic on the Pulaski and with traffic and screaming through the bike lane. And it wasn't just dirt bikes. There were some three-wheelers in there. Like the off-road three-wheelers, as in literally never ride one of those. They're one of the most dangerous
Also
things
illegal
humans
to
have ever-
ride in New York City. Also
Yep.
dangerous to ride anywhere ever.
Yeah, for ATV four-wheel, fine. Like that's
Those are safe to ride them in appropriate,
Yeah.
venues.
There is no safe place to ride a three-wheel ATV.
Nope.
Those things are just pure death. All right, I think we killed enough time with the news. Let's see what's going on in this chat. Churba's here just because you told him not to be.
Must I really have nothing better to do?
The service you described exists. It's called Twitlonger.
Yeah, people didn't use it though. I mean, it needs to be built into Twitter, so it just happens.
Twitwronger.
Yeah.
Churba got a Canadian visa by accident once.
I don't know how that can happen. It's hard. Doing a visa requires late work.
People are talking about getting the flu shots. Yeah.
Get your flu shot. Don't give me the flu or I'll kill you.
So I hope I don't get a flu again.
Go get a flu shot.
I'm going to.
You know what? Here's the thing about the flu shot, right?
Yeah.
That hurt less than like any shot ever. It is like the least painful of all shots.
Oh yeah, now it is.
It's bare. Like usually you get a tetanus shot and you can feel them squirting something into you,
And then it hurts for like 3 days.
It doesn't hurt for 3 days, but it hurts somewhat, right? And like you get what other shots? You get blood drawn and you get a little bruise maybe if they do a bad job.
The antibiotic shots that I got when I got Lyme disease, those were choice. Shall we say?
But
that was a connoisseur's experience.
But
you want to get jabbed with a giant fucking needle in your thigh.
And like the TB test. I don't know if they still do the TB test.
They did. It's a different
way.
TB test. You don't get the 4 pricks anymore.
Yeah, but back in the day, they used to do the prick that had 4 dots.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty sure that's gone.
I'm pretty sure that's gone also. But that 4 pricks hurts more than the modern day flu shot. The modern flu shot is like the least painful of all shots
Scott,
ever.
Do you know how they do allergy testing? Like to test what you're allergic to?
a million pricks instead of 4 pricks.
Yeah, so they make you take your shirt off and you lay down. They restrain your arms so you can't like scratch yourself or anything, and they jab you lightly with needles like 100 times in a grid on your back, and then you lay there for a couple hours while they keep track of what areas go crazy red. And then of the ones that went the reddest, they do it again where they make a line on your arm and they inject a big bubble at intervals of like way more important stuff, and then they track how big the rash gets on each one of them. That shit sucks.
A good thing I don't have allergies.
Yeah, you probably have an allergy or two that you've never encountered.
Poison ivy.
Oh yeah.
I have encountered it. I am allergic to it.
All right. But anyway, things of the day. What do you got?
So GeekNights has a long tradition of using Soviet and Eastern European awesome artworks as things of the day.
I think there's a theme because my thing of the day is also Soviet related.
Well, that's how we do here. And we haven't done any of those in quite a while, right? Not since, like, I guess one of those Tetris thing or something. Who knows? But anyway, so this is something that's really interesting because back in the day when people poisoned themselves more than they do now.
When it was socially acceptable.
Right.
Like now it's really not.
When lighters were not as common, people used matches to light their, deadly tobacco poison.
Maybe they used that oil lighter like the guy who burned his house down on the live stream.
And people had, matchbooks and matchboxes. And matchbooks and matchboxes were, for all their negatives, were very useful in that they provide a venue for the displaying of advertisements and also artwork. So here is a collection of Matchbox advertisements and artworks from Eastern Europe and Soviet Russia in the
These are so great. I want a tabletop board game that uses this aesthetic.
Right, and the aesthetic is awesome, especially the outer space related ones, but also the camera related ones and the family related ones and the everything. Some of them look sort of like the Glory to Rome black box artwork.
Oh yeah. Look at these ski ones.
How about there's an ice hockey, sports related. It's pretty much all great. And it's like I kind of wish there was, as we move to the digital realm, which is great, obviously, and away from smoking, which is even better, perhaps.
We're not generating these physical artifacts anymore.
Without physical artifacts, there are less physical places for the displaying of art that you can encounter and collect in the real world.
Like? So the thing that used to be that no longer be is if you were reading a book in public anywhere, people could see what book you were reading, which might start a conversation or something. Now that's just a back of a black Kindle. You could. What if you put another screen on the Kindle? That
I think there was something like that.
I feel like there was.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing, we got to make.
They're actually on Kickstarter. It's way too much money. They're selling an ebook that contains the entire Fist of the North Star manga, and you can read it in Japanese or English. It's never been in English. It's very expensive. But it's one ebook, and you can't put other books on it. It literally only reads Fist of the North Star. You open it up, and there it is, 2 screens, one on the left, one on the right, just like a real manga. But it's only Fist of the North Star. You can't load a different ebook on it. You can't unload Fist of the North Star. Nothing. It's just that one book forever. And in the back, and it looks like a book because the back of it is a cover. Because you open it up and there's 2 screens.
Oh my god!
So there you go.
I kind of want it.
You buy it and I'll read it.
You know what we should do? We should kickstart. We'll buy it.
It's very expensive. It's like hundreds of dollars.
No, we kickstart it. And everyone who buys in, we just make a list and we pass it around like Radioactive Man #1.
Sure.
Everybody reads it and passes it to the next person.
You got $10 for me, that's it.
And the more money you give, the higher up in the list you go of who gets it first.
I'll give you maybe 20.
And if you break it, I kill you because...
What are you going to do when the batteries run out on it?
Oh, it can't be charged?
I don't know how it fucking works.
It's gotta be. I assume
what if it breaks?
Charged. No, if it breaks, well, that Radioactive Man #1.
I'm just saying.
So... in my Soviet thing of the day, I don't think none of us have flown on a Concorde. That was kind of before our time.
I have never been on a Concorde, though I have seen one in person.
Because it's on the Intrepid.
Yes, that one.
You can go look at that one. You used to be able to go inside it, but now you can't.
But I've also seen another one at an airport just sitting there.
But the Concorde is pretty cool, and I don't want to get too deep into...
It's also way smaller than it looks in photos.
Well, most things are like fighter jets. You look at a real fighter jet, and it's so tiny, it's almost shocking.
It's only needs to hold 1 or 2 people.
Yeah, but the Concorde held a reasonable number of people. But if you're too young to even know what the hell the Concorde was, it was a supersonic jet developed by Europeans that could fly between New York and London in a shockingly short amount of time.
So there were only a few routes you could take on it, and they were mostly transatlantic flights.
The reason for
it
that
cost a lot of money.
had nothing to do with technology. It was mostly protectionism, NIMBYism, and fear of a sound problem due to the sonic booms that may or may not have been as bad as people implied.
Right, but I've never heard the sonic boom from it, so I don't know.
But
I have heard fighter jets fly over, and that sonic boom is annoying.
I spent much of my life living next to Selfridge Air National Guard Base. F-16s in formation would fly over my house like multiple times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally they dropped the afterburners and sonic booms would happen, and it was kind of amazing.
Amazing, but also annoying.
Really, really, really annoying.
Yeah.
But also planes used to just be louder. Like, don't get into that. But anyway.
Cars used to be louder too.
So the Europeans made the Concorde, and the Soviets and the Americans got jealous and pulled a Me Too, as in they wanted to prove that they have the ability to also develop something like that. The American Concorde was garbage, but I'm not talking about that. My thing of the day is a video titled "Why You Wouldn't Want to Fly on the Soviet Concorde."
I wouldn't want to fly in the Soviet anything.
The Tupolev Tu-144 story.
I learned everything I need to know about Soviet, aerospace.
Aerobiz?
From Aerobiz. Well, not the space part, but the aero from Aerobiz.
Yeah, in Aerobiz.
Those are the cheapest and the crappiest planes.
In Aerobiz, if you started in the Soviet Union, you could buy Soviet planes, but you didn't start in the Soviet Union because shit sucked over there. And if you started anywhere else in the game except like Iraq, you could buy any planes from like Airbus or Boeing, but you couldn't fly Soviet-bought
MD.
planes. If you went and McDonnell Douglas, the MD-80. I played a lot of that game. But if you tried to buy the Soviet planes, they'd be like, sorry, you can't buy from Eastern Bloc countries. But if you played in the right era, eventually perestroika would happen, and Eastern markets would open up, and you could go buy those planes. And then suddenly you could go talk to the representatives from Ilyushin and Tupolev. And the first thing you realize is that those planes were pieces of shit, and you literally never, ever wanted to buy them under any circumstances.
No, you could profit by putting them on some shitty route.
Except they used so much gas and were so unreliable that they ended up costing too much.
They're so cheap to buy.
They weren't actually that cheap,
And
though.
as long as you only need them for a short amount of time just to get a little bit of profit so you can buy a better plane. Or
Yeah,
if
it
you're in
still
Soviet Russia and you can't buy another plane.
Yeah, pretty much the only reason you use those is if you started in Russia because you hate yourself and you wanted the game to be impossible. The only other crazy place to start was Iraq, because you could start in Iraq and then the Iraq War would break out like 2 years into the game and just ruin you. So yeah, don't think you wanted to fly in the Tu-144. In the meta moment, the book club book is not the first or the fourth or the third or the sixth, but the fifth season.
1, 2, 3, or 5.
Yes.
5 seasons is the first book of the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and I have finished reading it in its entirety. I started reading the second one a little bit, but actually I stopped because A, I'm playing Metroid on my DS, and B, I don't want to mess up my thinking of the first book too much because the lines will get blurred.
Yep, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read through it pretty quick.
Because book 2 starts pretty much immediately at the end of book 1. I almost feel like the first book was actually shorter because I couldn't tell how long it was with ebookness. And the fact that the end of the book doesn't end when the Kindle says 100%, it ends before then. So it sort of cut out to me. It really feels like, I don't know how long book 2 and 3 are, but just from book 1, it feels like really all these 3 books are one book that happen to be chopped into 3 even pieces, because it just picks up right where the first one left off, like immediately.
But if I don't finish it by the next Thursday show, I'll definitely have it done a month from now, because I'm just going to read it real soon. The problem is my commute's so short, I literally can't read fiction on my commute.
There are other times of the day where reading is possible.
But the weather's been nice, and I've been creating content.
Like before you go to bed and immediately when you wake up.
Before I go to bed, I'm playing Overwatch.
Well, don't do that.
No.
I don't do that.
You should.
I read.
Overwatch, Overwatch is so up your alley.
Nah.
It's all those feels of those old Quake mods.
I'm killing some Metroids right now.
Well, we can play some PUBG together, because we'll both be equally bad at it, I think.
Maybe. I don't think it matters. I don't think I care if I play PUBG. I don't think I'll care about winning or losing so much.
Yeah, but I feel like...
And I feel like if I die, I'm not going to wait for the next round to start. I'm just going to go join a different server.
I feel like I'm going to try to play it enough until I win once, and then I'll just quit.
It's too much money for that.
I feel like I'll never win it, so we'll see. I feel like it's easier to win a Counter-Strike gun game than it is to win a PUBG right
Yeah, there's a
now.
lot less competition.
Yeah. So, otherwise, if you follow me on YouTube, you should also follow Scott. And if you follow Scott on YouTube, you should also follow me. Because we just put up 2 big pieces of content on both of those. So on my YouTube channel, you can see our newest PAX panel about Rage Quitters and Butthurt Rage. If you go to Scott's YouTube channel, you can see the first episode of our new series based on the Anime Boston panel we used to do, Judge Anime by Its Cover, where we review the next season's anime before it comes out, because we're good at that and we're usually right.
You should also go to all the other places on the internet that exist, like Twitter, Facebook, just everywhere.
We don't have a MySpace.
We set up Geek Nights everywhere that we could set up shop for Geek Nights, even like an Instagram account.
Google Plus. There is a Google Plus for us.
If there's a place that you want us to set up shop on the internet and we're not there, tell us.
I
worry. See if
worry.
we can make it happen.
We'll see if but look, you can totally Google Plus still exists.
We could upload our content to YouPorn.
I guess we could.
It's a thing you can do.
So yeah, desks. Can't believe we never did a show on this.
We did a show about furniture.
Yep. But
how many Thursdays we should change Thursday from being everything to being food and furniture.
The FF? No, only things that start with F.
Okay. Friedman Freeze games.
Yeah, food, furniture, Friedman. No, that's the next Friedman Freeze game, food and furniture.
Sure.
It's a dexterity game. You're trying to eat at your desk without spilling food into your keyboard.
I fail. I just banged out my keyboard today. So many seeds from Everything Bagels came out.
Yep. I once a month I take my keyboard and I do the hold it sideways and do the tap tap shake, and horrors emerge.
Yeah, pretty much. But for me, mostly Everything Bagel seeds.
So desks. So way back, we did a show on chairs because Scott and I both spent a lot of money to each buy a really nice office chair.
And it turned out to be a great investment.
I'm sitting in the same chair that I bought in that Geek Nights episode.
At my apartment, I have the same chair, and even though the armrests on it got busted once, I emailed the company, and they sent me brand new, even better armrests to swap out for free.
If I had continued to buy cheaper office chairs, I probably would have had to buy like 4 of them.
And people buy those horrific gaming chairs that look like a chair from a race car that on wheels, which is, I don't know what the hell people find in those.
They don't even look that comfortable. Actually, I know now.
No, I've sat in them at PAX. They're not comfortable.
They're about as comfortable as a cheap office chair.
However, if I was still a kid in high school, instead of buying the $50 chair at Staples, I would have bought that chair instead.
Yeah, but I love the hell out of this chair. So
Luckily,
that was the right
I was
decision.
born earlier, so I didn't have to have that chair.
But if I had to list the things that I interact with that are furniture, or the things that could affect my life the most in terms of number of hours I'm forced to interact with them, desks are like almost 100% Venn diagram overlap with chair.
Yeah, I mean, you're sitting in that chair for X hours a day, every day, and you're sitting at that desk. So isn't the desk almost as important?
Yeah, it's almost like an extension of the chair. Because if I'm not at my desk, I'm not sitting in my chair. I'm lounging on a couch, or I'm at a table.
So there's so many desks these days come in so many varieties since people added the standing option.
Yep. So at my new office, most of the desks, because there's a cool thing there, is that everyone has the exact same desk layout, no matter what, no matter what their job is. 100% identical everywhere. There's no offices or anything.
Really? Even
even the top.
Even Bloomberg just standing there in a field of people?
Yeah, well, you can have that desk that's a little more isolated, but it's still that exact size and shape.
He doesn't have an office with a door?
No one seems to.
Not even Bloomberg himself.
It doesn't seem to be. I don't work at his office. I don't 100% know. I haven't gone over there. I haven't just strolled in and be like, hey, what's up? Oh, but anyway, most of the desks now have the big 2 monitors on a thing that you basically lift it, and now it's a standing desk. But because I joined recently, mine does not have that. So I do not have a standing desk. In fact, I have never had a standing desk. Kind of want one.
Oh, at my work, basically, if you ask for a standing desk, they get you this thing that's basically a little elevator that they put on your regular desk.
Oh.
And then you put your stuff on top of that, and then you sort of have to pick it up and then put it down. It has two positions, up and down.
No, this one is you grab your monitor and you just go up, and it's up, and it brings the keyboard up with it.
Yeah, I have no interest in standing desk unless it's the kind where I push a button and it goes, some sort of motorized situation.
So I read, you know how there's all those studies, like if you sit too many hours a day, your chance of death from all causes increases.
You know, I've seen all these different studies, and I don't know what to believe because I've seen some that say that's bullshit, but those are paid for by Big Chair. And I see ones that are say you should stand, and those are paid for by Big Standing Desk. Now I don't know who to believe.
I found a meta study that actually might explain that.
All right.
This is recent. Like I'm going to talk about this in the forum. I'm going to link to it and like make a thread about it.
Mm-hmm.
I read this a couple days ago.
Also, I already invested in Big Chair. I don't want to go.
So there are studies that show if you sit too much, your chances of death just increase. Like that's just a thing. There's a correlation there.
But is it actually the sitting or just the fact that you're not doing anything?
There is a almost identical correlation for people who stand all the time, who stand equivalent amount, people who have standing jobs.
It's just not moving is the problem.
People who have jobs where they move, but they're on their feet, also have a higher chance of death.
Oh. I guess moving is not the solution then.
It appears that the only way to reduce that chance of death in these kinds of situations
not working
is to sit and stand in about equal amounts over the course of your day.
That's what I do anyway, even though I don't have a standing desk.
Yeah, most people do not do that. But there is a caveat that it might be that most jobs that involve standing pay shit, and low money correlates to bad life outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And also, those kinds of jobs tend to be more stressful.
It could be just that boring job sitting at a desk also kills you.
Oh, true.
Just because it's, regardless of whether you're sitting or standing at the desk, the point is you're stuck at a desk all day, and therefore you are dying.
Yep.
Inside.
So, what kind of desk do you have at home?
I have this desk from IKEA. Before that, I did the piece of wood on cinder blocks, which was just as good, but it was too big for a New York apartment.
Yeah.
So I got an IKEA desk that is basically 3 pieces of wood, 2 vertical ones, and a horizontal one. And I love just having a big ass flat generic space that I could then arrange things on. No weird tiers. No, I used to, like in college, I think I had one with like that went up a bit, and then that wasn't good. I switched to the flat piece of wood.
See, I really like desks that have tiers and spaces on them all over the place.
I do not need the tiers and spaces. I want a big flat thing.
But the best desk I ever had was just because when we lived in Beacon, I took the master bedroom because you got the walk-in closet, so I just got the giant-ass bedroom instead. That bedroom was so big that I had one of those gigantic L desks.
All right, the desk was L-shaped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it also had on the side, the long side, a tier with like more space for shit.
Yeah, L-shape is nice because it's basically, you couldn't have.
Well, you could have 2 contacts in one space.
Right, it's just a more flat area, right? Because normally, even if I get the biggest and flattest piece of wood, I get like a Warhammer table. It's like, well, I can't reach the whole thing.
Yep.
But an L-shape is like, now I can reach even more flat space. But
I'm a big fan in my life. Like, this is one of those things that I actually put a lot of thought and investment into, is that I like the idea of having separate spaces or separate contexts for different kinds of tasks because it causes better focus.
If I had more space to work with, I definitely would be doing that. I'd have a different desk for like, making playing games or, working on that kind of thing.
Oh, look, I found a picture of my old desk.
Yeah. A different desk for like working on models and stuff, different desk for computing.
Oh man, look at that Toricon poster. This is an old fucking picture.
Anyway.
2007, this picture.
Yeah, but the point is,
But yeah, so
more desks is always better. If you got more different kinds of work.
If I was rich and had a giant house, I'd have a room that was just the podcasting media streaming room.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have a separate room that's I'm going to play some fucking games room.
Mm-hmm.
And the tabletop room would probably be even another room.
Mm-hmm.
I loved, when I was a kid, like the fact that we had a dining room that was separate from the eating, like the food preparation room.
I mean, most people are probably like, but I have that. Well, you don't live in a tiny apartment where you suddenly don't have that. And it's like, I was able to get a dishwasher, but I wasn't able to get a dining room. You know how much a dining room costs?
Yep.
I can't afford that.
Or even just little things like when I lived in Sterling Heights, we didn't really need a formal dining room. So instead we had a library. So we had a room in the house that was the library.
I need a library.
And the great part about it was that I could sit in the living room if I was going to like watch TV or we were all going to watch a movie together, that kind of context. But I'd go to the library if I wanted to either talk to people with no distractions or like just read a book.
Anyway, we got away from desks,
But
right?
so at the L desk, I could face one way and have context one, like working on shit. But then I can just turn to the right and have a different context despite only having one desk.
Yeah, my desk at work is L-shaped, and I've got the keyboard sort of in the cornery area, and to the right of that I have like, some stuffs, and then to the left I have like a little decorative area.
Yeah.
Right? But if I need to switch tasks, I just move. I use actually a PAX branded CCG card gaming mat as like my mouse pad. It's like takes up a whole area. Like just to the left of that, I can do some writing and whatever. Right.
So I do the thing where, because my desk at my current job has it's like pretty big actually, but it's like a straight on, but it's wide enough to where it's big enough for two people to sit at it, but it's just me. So what I do is I have an area to the right, which is like keyboard, mouse, and like, computering. And if I scoot to the left, I got an open area where I have like my drawing tablet and paper.
Yeah, I have an area to the left. It's just I put tchotchkes there.
Yep. I don't have that here. Actually, the current setup I have for the GeekNights studio, like the desk I'm sitting at right now, not the greatest setup because I have too much shit that I use on a regular basis, and there's not enough space to put it all that is also well organized.
Now, let's talk about something else the desk has going on below, which is some drawer action. Right?
I want more drawers on my desks.
Right, so that's the thing. It's like on the one hand, right, it's like I kind of like not having anything under there because moving around becomes real easy. But the fact is that when you get the big piece of wood like I enjoy, just a big flat area, there's a more area on top.
For shit to accumulate.
The more area there is on the bottom. And that area, while you want to have it open so your legs can be there, is also pretty much wasted area. So you may as well put some kind of storage down there. You got to put some, otherwise you're wasting space, which in a tiny apartment is a problem.
But like in a big house, like who cares? That room was so big, I could have put like 6 more desks that size in there.
Right. So if you don't have a space elsewhere, and plus it's easy to get stuff if it's there. If you put your stuff far away, now you got to go really far away to get your stuff. So you want to put handy things you're going to need while you're at your desk in drawers underneath the desk. Nice filing cabinet action.
Yep.
All that kind of stuff. So the drawers I have are actually, it's actually it's like a set from IKEA. It goes with the desk, but it's like a free rolling file cabinet that has 2 drawers and then 1 file drawer. And I can take it out and roll it around if I want, but it just fits perfectly in the desk part. But I can move it if I have to the left, to the right, wherever. So it's pretty good. But if I got an even bigger desk, I can get another one of those, right? But if I got a second one now, I wouldn't have enough leg room under there. So
yep, like right now, I have enough leg room to stretch out, but it's literally just as wide as my legs.
Yep.
Because my computer's down there for reasons of venting heat, and there's nowhere better to put it.
Yep.
So I wish I didn't. Well, I don't wish, but it would be interesting if I didn't have to do media creation and play games on my computer, because then I could have a tiny computer that I would just like tape to the bottom of my desk. And like it would just be hanging from the desk, and I'd never have to touch it or interact with it, except a USB hub like sitting on top.
Yep.
But the reality is that's not true. I have a giant computer, so I need that space down there for the computer to sit. Because you can't.
I actually put my computer next to the desk.
I don't have room for that here, actually.
Okay. I barely just enough room for that.
Yep. So I really always want my desks to have the keyboard tray that is under the desk and comes out over my legs.
Nope. I am against this. I want the keyboard to be on the desk, and that's why I need the big open space, because the keyboards and the mouse are taking up some of that space.
But look, I can roll it out and deploy like my stuff on this nice area that's at the exact right height.
Nope.
But if I'm not
at the exact
keyboard,
right height. It needs to be higher.
Why would I make it higher? It's the exact level of my armrest for typing.
Too low.
How is this too low?
It's too low.
You want to be typing like this, like up? Why would you do that to yourself and type all the way up here?
That's not. First of all, you're talking about a 2-inch difference, right?
That's a big deal.
And second of all, your arms are short.
My arms are longer than your arms.
Also, when I sit in my chair, whenever I get in a chair, I always adjust it to be reclining as much as possible, because reclining.
Why don't you just get a lay down desk?
That would be great. Also, I make the elevation of the chair as high as possible. So even though you're saying, oh, that's the right height for you, that's too low, my knees be bumping into that shit.
My knees do not bump into this.
How, is your Aeron chair as up high as it goes?
Of course not. My Aeron chair can go way higher than I possibly would ever need it to.
That's the thing. If I had that chair, I would put it maximum height.
Why? That
is my most comfortable position. Is when I would, if I could.
This is why you have a hump.
I would have my chair be up, like so I could kiss giraffes on the lips.
This is why you're gonna be a hunchback when you're old, because you sit weird, and it seems like it's not just your back slouch, but it's every aspect of your being.
Gotta be up high. Can't
So
be
when you're
down low
sitting-
with the plebs. Gotta be up high like the king.
So when you're sitting in your chair, like working on stuff, are your feet dangling, touching the ground, or flat on the ground?
It depends on where I am because I have different chairs at work and home. But I would most prefer my feet to be dangling and floating in the air. Like
Dangling's bad news. Dangling's not great for you.
who cares?
It also decreases comfort over time unless you're weird, and I guess the hunch is giving you like
I
extra
love it
leg
when you go
support.
to like a restaurant and they have those really tall stools.
Only if they got the platform so you can hook your feet around
And
the
there's
platform.
no platform and your
Nah,
feet
nah.
can go wee.
Nope, you gotta
and you can
get-
spin around in a circle.
Gotta hang the feet on the platform. Like,
No platform.
I want my feet to be planted flat on the ground. I
No.
want my thighs to be facing straight forward so my knees are at like this 90-degree angle. That is the perfect way to sit.
The only benefit that I must admit of the keyboard drawer is that when your keyboard is hidden away in the keyboard drawer,
You can eat at your desk without food getting in it.
I would not have a million everything bagel crumbs and,
Yep.
and seeds in my keyboard. But that is a small price to pay for having my keyboard out on top, in the right position.
So for the longest time, I've always been a fan of, if I have to get a desk that isn't a gigantic L, then I like the compact computer desks that have a bunch of vertical space in them to use that space up.
See, I'm not super against having the vertical stuff because I do like more storage space, right? And just an empty wall is not
Oh,
storage
but I don't use it
space.
for storage. I use it for active things like the compressor is literally like mounted on my desk up there.
That's storage.
But it's more like a control interface. It's usage.
I'm just
too.
saying, it's a thing. It's being stored there, right? You couldn't store that on an empty wall.
Well, then by that logic, a desk is just storage too.
It is.
But we're talking about it separately
It is.
because it's also a workspace.
It's just a shelf that you interact with the things on more.
Also
than another
access.
shelf.
It's access more than storage.
Yes, it's a more easily accessed shelf. It's a shelf you can access while sitting.
Yeah, I would say that, but I wouldn't go so far as to call it storage.
It's storage.
Is it stowage?
No, it's just storage.
But the problem, so this was great through most of my life in computing, but now we're in an era where I can get really fucking gigantic monitors that don't fit in the spaces that exist on those desks. So right now, the vertical part on this desk was great until I got a really big monitor, and now the monitor has to be in front of that.
It is really strange how I had 17-inch monitors, right? And then as time went on, people were getting 19 inches, and I looked at them and I'm like, this is too big. I don't need that big, right? I want more resolution, smaller pixels, better screen, but I don't need anything bigger than 17. Now my monitors are 24 inches. They're 16 by 10.
And I'm looking at even bigger ones.
And I
like,
see
huh.
I see 27-inch monitors, and I'm like, those aren't too big. And I see people buying 34-inch monitors. I had at one time. I currently have a 40-inch television as my television, and I don't need a bigger
I
one.
have a 52, and I would never go bigger than that.
No, 52 is too big. But
Well, for your apartment, it would be. I
I
measured.
only have a 40-inch TV because the 37-inch that I replaced, they couldn't get another 37. But 34 to 37 adds a really small difference, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, there's not a lot of furniture out there that can accommodate these bigger monitors, especially in the small apartment, right? I have two 24-inch monitors on my desk now on arms that are mounted to the back of the desk. But if I had to go to bigger monitors, I couldn't. I need to basically stick with 24-inch monitors.
Yep. So the only way to fit two monitors on this desk is right now my secondary monitor is a shockingly ancient 4x3 that's
That's
tiny.
a 17 that I had in 2002.
But also that number is different because that number, if you measure something diagonally, a rectangle has a very different profile depending on its aspect ratio.
Even if you want to measure the area, is way small.
Yeah.
Right.
But if I get a bigger monitor than what I have now, I cannot have a second monitor unless that second monitor is vertically
Also, what's
oriented.
the resolution of that monitor? 1280 by 1024?
No, this one's higher than that.
No, the 17-inch one.
Oh, that one?
It's
fucking-
1280, right?
I think so.
And this other one is 1600 by, or 19...
This one's 1920 by
1200?
1200, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I found this picture. I was looking at pictures of my old desk. So I've got the 19-inch CRT, and there's magic in this picture. You see the old mixer. You see my old flip phone before smartphones, a Neil Stephenson book, the shittiest, rattiest ass thing, the keyboard shelf with my old Logitech keyboard down there. And you can see in this little screenshot that I'm running KDE, it looks like. Good old times. But yeah, the problem with the vertical space now, too, is that the vertical stuff was really useful in the previous places I had lived up until now in my entire life because the ceilings weren't that high. They made the most use of that space.
And putting shelves on the wall just kind of is hard and sucks.
But now that I live in an
Stud
apartment
finding and
like modern luxury apartments have really high ceilings compared to the average ceilings in most of America. Like that's been the trend. If you get a fancy house now, you get like 13, 14-foot ceilings. The highest vertical desk, they're still like 5 feet above the desk that I'd still have to put shelves in. I can't have a desk that will use up all that space, so it'd almost be easier to just put shelves in all the way up in the first place than bother getting the vertical desk. But I already have the vertical desk, and I don't want to just replace the desk because that's even more of a pain.
Yeah, no. So I do want to talk about like a lot of desks, like the IKEA desk I have is fine, right?
Yep.
But it's like, you know, when I was a kid, the desk I had that came with like the children's furniture that then lasted me all the way to high school
Yep.
was actually made of like for serious wood. Like it had 3 drawers and not a lot of space, but I was able to get my, 15-inch CRT on there with my computer on the floor, with my Pentium 3 for a couple years. It worked, I managed, but like it was serious furniture. Like, wow, this is solid, super wood. It lasted all that time. You could easily move it to another house or sell it to someone, no problem, right? The IKEA desk I bought in college, like, disintegrated the first time I tried to move it. And
that's the rule.
And that's why I switched to cinder blocks with a plank, because that didn't fall apart. It did, but you could put it right back together again.
Yeah.
And the IKEA desk I have now, while just fine, actually had a bunch of peeling going on.
Yeah, look at all this like cosmetic damage that's accumulating on this thing.
And if I have to move, basically just got to throw it out and recycle it. It's completely it's because it's so shitty and chintzy. Now, I do see people who still have fancy desks these days with serious wood, usually like executive desks. And I do like those on one hand.
But they tend to waste a lot of space.
Right, because they're so big and so solid, which is good. But they're pretty much worse in every other way besides bigness and solidness. Often they have weird shapes and they're ornate and they're uncomfortable to sit under and they're not designed with computers in mind.
So, when we first moved into this apartment and we bought bookshelves, we got these like really nice leaning bookshelves for the bedroom. I really like that aesthetic. And they hold off crazy ton of books too. Like they're just really nice. And they go right up flush against the wall. There's a lot of reasons I like these shelves. But there was an option, because they're modular. You can get as many segments of these leaning shelves as you want. You could replace one of those segments with a really minimalist desk. And then the shelves go up. And if I didn't have all this audio mixing equipment nonsense, because I do stuff that normal people don't do with their computers, I would probably have done that instead of a desk. Because what I'd have is like a Microsoft Surface Book or something, or a laptop of some kind to be my primary computer, and I would just set it there on this really minimalist desk, and it would be great. Like that would be almost the ideal solution.
Well, I think, if you had like 2 living places, right? So like if
that's the desk I'd have if we bought a house upstate to store stuff in.
Right. If I have a big house somewhere where I actually have like workshops and things.
Or I'd have
then my New York City apartment just becomes this minimalist, place just to live while in the city. And then it can have really tiny stuff like that because no one's going to have a desktop computer in such a minimalist place.
Or if I had a bigger house, what I'd do is like there'd be shelves like that in most of the rooms because that's what you do. I'd probably just have a little minimal desk along the wall in almost every room because if you're just in a room and you want to like do some work, it's a nice thing. I like having workspaces in other places. Again, just to give myself a better way to change contexts.
All right, but yeah, it's sad that desks these days are hard to come by, made of high quality materials that are actually a serious piece of furniture, as opposed to some chintzy basically plank of who knows what kind of particle crap that.
So actually, this one is real sturdy. Otherwise, like
mine is sturdy because it's only 3 pieces of whatever it is, but
This desk, I'm pretty sure I
know,
could move without it breaking.
Yeah, I could probably take apart the 3 pieces and put them back together. I think it does actually have a 4th piece, which is like some sort of backing plate that's not necessary.
Yeah.
And maybe provide some structural integrity, but not really. It's real thin. But it's like you're better off just getting rid of it because it's so cheap.
Yeah, I think the biggest constraint I have on desks is that for a variety of reasons, I have a large number of control surfaces to which I need access and peripherals, like drawing tablet, the knob, 2 keyboards, one for gaming and one for typing, the giant-ass mixer, the compressor, the streaming crap, and then now like all these USB chargers everywhere. So I have all these like extra constraints that mean it's almost harder for me to find a desk than just a normal person using normal computers for normal things. But I wonder, what are the people who don't have computers? Do they just not have desks? Like the people who just have an iPad or their phone?
I see, when I go to people's houses,
Like I don't see desks.
At least from what I remember of going to people's houses, like people have their computer desks. Like in the 90s when I was, I'd go
It was either in the dining room.
I would go to other people's houses and everyone had a different weird situation for their computer desk. Like even ours was like, I had mine in my room, but like the family computer was like in the kitchen on this weird like non-desk table
Kitchen
thing.
was like real common. In fact, when we were looking at houses,
it's like people's houses weren't made to accommodate a computer. So everyone in the 90s like found a place that was so random and to like shove a desk that was covered in papers and CD-ROMs and a printer, right? And it stuffed the computer on it, and it maybe in the basement. Some people, it's like all over the place.
My aunt and uncle, I remember I was always jealous because they had a bigger house than us when I was really young, and they had a den, and that room became the computer room, and there were a bunch of computers in there. Also, they were nerds, and they were computers, so I wanted to have their computers too, because we didn't have a computer right away, and when we did, it went into the dining area, which was connected to the kitchen.
Yeah, I do think, though, nowadays, more modern peoples, if you don't need the big computer, I think a lot of people don't need the desk because everyone's got tablet, phone, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? And the desk is going away.
They sit at the table. Or
you don't need a desk. Because here's the thing. Back in the day, you would have a desk to like do paperworks and things, but now you don't do those anymore because you do everything on a computer.
Yeah.
But now, your computer isn't a computer anymore. It's just your phone or a tablet or something or a laptop. So you just do on the couch and use a coffee table or whatever.
Yeah, or you get a TV tray or one of the. I see a lot of people get those trays that you sit over you like a breakfast in bed tray, but it's just for your laptop.
It's just a pillow with a piece of wood attached to it. That thing.
That or more substantial ones that are actually a tray with legs. That's like a mini table.
Right, but like if you don't need a desktop computer, you don't need a desk in the year 2017 in the United States.
Desktop computer, even though it's under my desk.
Yeah.
Because the world changed, so it's a desk under a computer. And I'm one of those people who uses desk under computers, so I need a desk to put it under. And that's that.
All right.
I still can't believe you don't like the tray that comes out for the keyboard.
I don't like the tray that comes out.
I just don't understand that.
It's just in practice. I mean, a lot of them are obviously yours still functions, but many people get a flimsy one that just falls apart.
No, a flimsy keyboard tray is worse than no keyboard tray. Kind of like if you go on an old airline and you open the tray and it kind of just sags. You can't have sag. If there's sag, just tear the thing off.
Yep.
All right, that killed an hour.
Good. Die, hour, die.